Hi, I just got back from playing that thing that you just watched me play. I'm gonna show you what I was doing, because I feel like that might be valuable. And I know that modular people want to know everything all the time. So I'll just tell you, alright? It's nothing crazy, but there's a lot of wires. I'll try to make it like, I'm not like the best presenter of this sort of thing, but I'll just do it anyways. Alright. Here's my modular box. I got a new case recently. It's Velcro. It's nice because it's hard to show this, but it's 12 HP, 4 rows, and it just folds up like this, and it closes patch and everything, just like a modular should. And I'll just plop it down on my table, and it opens right up like a little clam. Actually, I should power it first. Let's turn it on. Alright, so for the show I was using the modular and a sampler and a synth and some effects. So I guess I'll show you those other things. They're all very simple things. Here's the sampler. It had samples here, and built-in effects, so I used that. That wasn't mine, I was borrowing it, so that's kind of why I didn't know exactly. I was a bit clumsy with it sometimes. And same with this. It's kind of new to me, and I'm not used to the keyboard yet, but it's a nice synth. It's just really small. It's got a lot of different sounds to it. I programmed some of the sounds I was using, and I downloaded a bunch of different ones, but it's nothing special really. I mean, it's special, but it doesn't need me to explain it. But here's the thing that only I can explain. The modular rig. I guess I'll go through it just channel by channel. So obviously channel 1 is the kick drum, and it's being controlled currently by this little sequencer. This is a BinSeek, apparently, from Noise Engineering. I just got these, 4 of them obviously, and they're controlled by the master clock. So just press play on that, and there's my rhythm, and it's the tip-top 1. Got some different sounds. Most of these are sort of inappropriate for the gig I played last night, but find a nice soft one. That's probably the simplest channel. It's literally just being triggered by that and going straight to the mixer. Off with you. Next one. You can't read my labels, but this one says bass. It's not a bass right now, but it's the braids. So it's being sequenced by the Metropolis, but sort of indirectly. So what's happening with this and all the pitches is that the pitch from Metropolis is going and being multed into every channel of the random step, and then the random step is being gated by different gate sources to create different pitches, all from this one pitch. So in this case, the output number 2 from the Shackmat Night Scallop is picking when it changes to a new note, and the output 1 is just doing, like, actually triggering the note. So in this mode, that only happens on beat 1. But if I change the mode to something like this, the alternating mode, I get a different pattern without changing the metropolis or anything like that. And in terms of the actual voice, like what's happening, it's this ADSR controlling this filter, and this is the oscillator, and this controls the octave of it. So like this chunk is the bass voice, and after that it comes through to channel 2. So that's nice. It's very flexible, you know. This has a lot of different algorithms in it. This one's good for bass here. Okay, moving along. ARP. Let's turn off the effects for now. The speed of the ARP is controlled by this clock. So what it is it's the individual outputs of Chord. I'm really rinsing the Chord V2 here. So it's actually just these three, the first three, go into a sequential switch, and you can see it just switching away. And the output of that just goes into the LXD, which is being plucked by the same gate that's triggering this to go. And that's just coming through. One trick I have with this is that I can send an offset to the CV so I can make it more plucky or more sustained. That acts like a filter and an envelope kind of at the same time with this one. So that's really nice. And I'll just adjust the speed of it and like put delay on it. So I guess I should talk about the effects a little bit more. Obviously this one is the delay, Erica Synth DIY delay, and it's just being clocked. So I can get all these nice delay, clean delays, subdivisions and stuff. Effect return 1 is this reverb coming from the effects aid. So that's nice. Return number 3 is not being used for effects right now. So yeah, that's the arpeggio thing. Next is the full chord. That's just the main output of Chord. That's being controlled by this, which is being triggered by this one. So that's pretty straightforward, and it's running through this filter, which is actually not doing a whole lot. I might as well just sort of run that through a VCA, but anyway, that's what it was doing. And with the Chord, you know, I'll fiddle around with it, make it sound nice, change the waveforms, change the voicings, and that will affect the ARP, the full Chord, and the next channel, which is lead. So since I'm in this mode where it's blue, that means the lead voice, which is the fourth output here, can be controlled completely separately. So I control that with this. You hear that? So it's internally quantized by the Chord, but I can totally independently play that as a voice. And if I don't want to, then I'll just mash this, and then the lead will run based on the chord progression that's already playing. Oh yeah, and it's getting its CV the same way the bass was, with the random step being triggered at the same time as the actual envelope. So anyway, the lead is happening. It's actually running through this mutable ears for like overdrive distortion kind of thing, which is cool. And it's also being controlled by the other offset thing. The reason the light is changing is because I'm sending in the bass envelope to it, so I can sort of sidechain it against the bass, or make it play in unison with the bass. So let's bring in the bass and hear that. So now it's playing together with the bass, layered up. And then if I flip the inverter here and bring up the offset, I'll take down the effects on it. Another thing I should mention about this is that it's being controlled by the Turing machine. So I can get funky rhythms out of it, because if I don't have the Turing machine affect it, then it only does simple rhythms. But if I modulate it, it becomes a more interesting rhythm. Okay, so that's the lead. And obviously, when I have that going with the arpeggio, listen to what happens when I change the voicing. Turn off the bass, sorry. So that's a really useful thing for being able to sort of adjust the balance of the sounds and the way they interact with each other. Another thing that I've found that was a cool trick with this is a little bit of vibrato. Not too much. So I'm using the LFO from the Roland 555. It's also buried in there, but it has a nice delay on the LFO, so I can trigger that at the same time as the voice, and then have the vibrato fade in, which is a nice effect. Okay, so that's the first 5 channels. Last channel is drums, so I can program drums. I did that backwards. So that's pretty kind of basic. I'm not sure I like this as a drum sequencer. I think these are more inclined to do like gates, because they can do ties and stuff. And they're very short loops, but this is what I have now. I was sort of intending these to be more for the voices and arpeggios and stuff like that, but I don't know. This worked for me because I was doing very minimal beats at that show. One other thing that's in my drum channel that I need to show relates to this, my expression pedal. I've found that, well, obviously I only have 2 hands and it's hard to do everything I want to at once, and there are certain sounds when you're making music that are really subtle but very useful. So With my expression pedal, I've set it up so I can just do this. And I get this swishy, like, wavy noise. And the way I'm getting that is by running white noise from the Roland 555 in there. It has a noise generator. And I'm bringing that through the other Roland phaser chorus kind of delay effect here. And then I'm just VCAing that open with one of my VCAs, whichever one it is. Yeah, it's the second VCA. You see it? Up, down. And you see the VCAs below that are going crazy. That's because I'm using them to do this. It's a very lazy hi-hat sound that's also made from the noise generator here. And it's just being controlled by a channel of Pam's workout somewhere. So that just brings in a little more energy if I need it. So this is like my drum submix to 2 HP mix. I also have this disting. I could have run that as a drum. Like I put a SD in there and just run it as drums. But I just didn't. I just didn't do that. Oh yeah, I should say that the drum is a Bastel, what is this, a Grandpa? It's like a extremely weird, like lo-fi drum sampler. It can't like, it can play 2 sounds, but it can't like layer them. It's one or the other. But anyway, I'm just doing that with this. You know, I usually have a real drum machine, but I thought that would be overkill for this gig, so I wanted to keep it all in here. So that's that. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, wait. Surprise. There's one more thing. So, yeah, you see rings here, right? That's everybody's favorite voice ever. And next to it is the 4MS percussion interface, which is a very cool, underrated envelope follower kind of preamp thing. And I'm just running a contact mic into it, and I'll play my rings like this, and with the joystick as well. So look at what I'm doing with the joystick. So up and down is structure. And then left and right is pitch. And how is that quantized? I don't have a real quantizer, so Pamela's new workout saves the day. She's acting as a quantizer. And this works kind of well, but you'll notice that I actually don't have a channel for it. And I'm simply abusing the third aux return as the rings channel. And that is something I would not recommend because when I looked back at my recording, the rings was way too loud. Way too loud. I should have attenuated it, but I didn't have enough attenuators left. I could have run it. I could have maybe submixed it if I had another submixer or another mixer of any kind. I could have sacrificed another sound or mixed 2 other sounds together somehow. In the future, I'll be doing that, or just not having too many voices or something like that, because rings is probably too dynamic for what I was doing with it. I mean, it sounded good. Yeah, I'm literally just running the percussion thing, the audio from this contact mic. And I'm just tapping on it, leaving it in these general settings. And it can sound very nice, like a little like koto or shamisen kind of sound, or like a, not really a koto or shamisen, it's like a guzheng. that's what I was imagining anyway. But like, you know rings. It's hard to like fit it into the mix sometimes. But it's okay. This is probably the densest patch I've made to date. But it's also just kind of a basic live patch. Like, I've seen people get a lot more crazy with these sorts of things. But yeah, I just thought I would like share what this is before I totally tear it apart. Yeah, I was using this top thing of Beast's chalkboard for rings. So now rings is really low, because rings doesn't have an octave switch on it. But I just left this cranked up, actually. So maybe I should have just tuned rings higher and then used this for chord, maybe. But anyway, oh, I have one other trick. So listen to the tonality that we're in now, and listen to what I get when I press this. And I let go. So I'm just using the gate from that button straight into aux B, and then I can do a master transpose, diatonic transpose, so I can like chill on the 4 chord or something, like for a while. So I can sort of get a fake B section that way, and this one goes to octave, I think. But I need to turn this up a little. But that's redundant because I have this. I don't know, whatever. It's just, I didn't know what else to do with that. I noticed in the real performance that braids didn't always stay in key. It does have a built-in quantizer, and I'm just using that in semitone mode. Maybe I should have had it off. Anyway, I'll just leave it on semi, because rings automatically stays in semitones. Chord does as well. I would love to play with like Zen harmonic tunings and everything, but with these oscillators it's not very easy. I mean, braids could do it, but anyways, it just makes things simpler to stay in this sort of harmonic world, and also to use chord the way I do, because I can get like so much stuff out of it. This is all chord. Like, it's amazing, that thing. So yeah, like, I don't know if there's any like super crazy tricks and tips that you could get from what I just said, but hopefully, I don't know, if you had any questions about it, now you know. And knowing is half of not knowing. Knowing is half the battle, the other half is battling.